هم من يرجى تعلم وتعليم تذكر وتذكير النفع والانتفاع لفعل الاستفادة المسك بكتاب الله ونسأل رسول الله ودعاء على الهدى ذات خير مرضاته قربه وثواب الله تعالى. اللهم ها هنا بين يديك ودعفنا لا يخفى عليك ولا بلطفك جودك برحمتك ارحم الراحمين. نسأل الله ظاهرها باطنها فإنك على كل شيء قدير وعلى سؤالنا جدير. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And these are the last moments of Ramadan, which the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam is akhiruhum min nar, the last of which is for emancipation from hellfire. And as we are passing through these moments, it's not moments that we waste in frivolous pursuits, but rather it's more time that we spend and in preparation for the irtihal, or the leaving of this guest, the guest of Ramadan. And the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam mentioned about the night that precedes the coming of the day of Eid. And before we even reach the night of Eid, we should know when a great poet, when he has said, لَيْسَ الْعِيدُ لِمَنْ لَبِسَ الْجَدِيدُ لَكِنْ الْعِيدُ مَنْ يَخَافُ مَقَامَ الْوَعِيدِ. Eid is not the one who dons beautiful garments or new garments. It is the one who has earned the fear and the mindfulness of his Lord Most High. And in the month of Ramadan, it's, as we have learned and as we know and as we hear time and time again, it's a month of developing a state of taqwa and of belief and of God-fearingness and of the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as this month we are coming through, and we are coming now to the day of the night and the day of Eid, this behoves us and still to seek the last moments of this month. And perhaps and perchance we are not aware that it's possible the 29th of Ramadan could also be from Laylatul Qadr. And if it's not from Laylatul Qadr, it's at least from the most blessed nights of this whole year, the month and the nights of Ramadan. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a great love for a person who returns back to him. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Uttum Udna, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if you return back to him subhanahu wa ta'ala, he returns back to you. Meaning that when a person returns back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in forgiveness, in repentance, in repairing that which is between him and Allah and him and the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return back to him. And this is why it's mentioned in Hadith al-Qudsi, when Allah narrates through the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, and it says, لَأَرِينَ الْمُذْنِبِينَ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِنْ زَجْرِ الْمُسَبِّحِينَ. That is the beseeching and the crying and the tears of those who are the muthnib, those who have disobeyed and sinned against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These people, their sound to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the anin, is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the zajr al-musabbihin, and those of those who praise Allah and in tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a month of rahmah and of mercy, a month of transformation. And if you look at our great history, this history of a great awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a history except a history of those who have repented of sinners, and thereafter Allah has raised them to the station of the highest of his friends. This is why some of the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, when a person makes tawbah, he leaves from the state of the ghafla of Allah to the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And certain ulama have mentioned, if you see a person performing a sin, and thereafter this person, after performing a sin, he thereafter seeks Allah's forgiveness, we should think within our hearts that in the moment that we have seen him performing a sin, and the next moment that we have seen him, maybe he has now reached a state of the ma'rifah, the knowledge of Allah and the cognizance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he has sought Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness. So these are moments. And these are moments we return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially in the last moments of this month of Ramadan. And how many people do we know from the previous Ramadan, of those whom we awaited and they awaited them to reach the next Ramadan, but no longer with us and moved on, and they are now in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's just moments, not hours, in fact, in which the shayateen, who have been banished to every far land, and those who have been cast into the oceans, and those who have been fettered and shackled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only moments now which they will be let loose upon the ummah of Rasul and the ummah and upon mankind. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تتبع خطوات الشيطان فإنه لكم عدو مبين, don't follow the footsteps of shaitan, for indeed he is a clear and a blatant enemy for you. So it's within these moments, it's within these moments, inshallah ta'ala, that we have left, that we raise our hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. And what better time than turn to forgiveness in these moments that could be the last moments of the days of Ramadan, and also within which could be the last night of this night that is coming, depending on the calendars which you follow, or the night following that, which could be the night of Laylatul Qadr. Now, and this is a moment in which Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, when he used to say, "Man hadha al-maqbul minna fanuhannih, wa man hadha al-mahrum minna fanu'azzih." Who is the ones whose deeds have been accepted, that we congratulate him, and whose deeds are those that have been rejected and has been deprived, so that we may grant him our commiserations. So inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to take the most of what is remaining of these moments, and we should know that whatever is remaining of these moments, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can transform us. In fact, deeds are only by their conclusions. As the Prophet ﷺ said, "A'mal bi khawatimiha." Actions are only by the act ends. So how our Ramadan ends, inshallah ta'ala, that is how this Ramadan will be written for us, and how this month ends. This is how this month will become a guide and a leader for the rest of the months, meaning that it will be how we spend the remainder of our year, of this time, alhamdulillah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to take the benefit of this month, inshallah ta'ala. This is the last session, so there are some pertinent issues which make this Ramadan very different from the previous Ramadan that we have passed through. So we hope that we make certain points clear, and certain fiqh rulings and questions and answers which people may have. You can send your questions online, to which we will answer inshallah ta'ala. But just as a muqaddamah to all of this, before we answer questions, certain questions are meant to be answered, and certain questions are not to be answered. That is to say, this is why there's a saying of the ulama. They mention الَّذِي يُجِيبُ كُلُّ مَا يُسْأَلْ فَهُوَ مَجْنُونٌ. Whoever answers for whatever he is asked, this person is deranged. Meaning that certain questions have a context in which to be answered, and certain questions have a context in which to be answered in a different context totally altogether, inshallah wa ta'ala. And that's why it's also mentioned by Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, when he said, "Nisful ilm qawluka la adri." Half of knowledge is in your saying that I do not know. So inshallah ta'ala, whatever questions that we have, we are free to put it forward in the various forums that we have and the various means that we are communicating by. But first and foremost, just like to remind every single person, as we are now coming closer to the days of and the end of Ramadan, and coming close to the days of Eid, this is a time in which a person needs to give a sadaqah of al-fitr. The word fitr means when a person ends their fast, hence we say the time of fitr. Sadaqah al-fitr means it's the time that we stop fasting. The month of Ramadan comes to an end, we enter the month of Shawwal, and thereafter, alhamdulillah, Allah blesses with the great blessing of Eid. However, during the time that we are fasted, there are moments in which our fast, within that moment, we may have raised our voices, we may have shown anger, or said certain words, or spoiled our fast in a way. And what zakat al-fitr or sadaqat al-fitr, what it does, it purifies us for how we are spoiled our fast. But this is why it's mentioned, a hadith mentioned by Al-Tabarani and others, when he says the siyam is mu'allaq bayna as-sama'i wal-ard, the fast of a person is suspended between the heavens and the earth until the point in which that they give the sadaqat al-fitr. So the sadaqat al-fitr, what is it? Well, it's equivalent to approximately 2 kilograms of the value or of the food stock itself of either wheat or raisins, or 5 kilograms of of dates or barley. This measure can be given, and in the Hanafi school, it's preferred, in fact, to give it in its value, because this is more beneficial to the poor. And this should be given before a person and it goes towards the Eid Musalla. We're going to come to about Salah Eid in a moment. The Eid Musalla, as we are not going to enact the Eid Musalla this year due to the pandemic. However, before the morning of Shawwal comes, before the time of Duha comes, approximately an hour or two before time of Zawal, a person should give the zakat or the sadaqah al-fitr. And it's called zakat al-fitr, sometimes called sadaqat al-fitr, sometimes called fitrana. The names are different, but the reality is the same. Now, so here at Darul Arqam, as part of our charity branch and Revive, we distributed to the most in need in Syria and in Yemen. And the value that we have placed for sadaqat al-fitr for wheat is approximately £5. And this is a value, inshallah ta'ala, which a person should give before the coming of the day of Eid. Thereafter, the sunan of the day of Eid, and the night of Eid that precedes it. The night of Eid also is a night in which we should revive. The Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, man ihya laylatay Eid fa ihya Allah al-qulub yawma tumeet al-qulub. The person who revives the night of Eid, Allah in worship, Allah will revive the hearts upon the day in which hearts will die, meaning the day of judgment. So before the coming of Eid, the night of Eid is called Laylatul Jaza, the night of recompense. The recompense of those who have fasted and worshipped Allah in Qiyam and Siyam, or Hifdh al-Basar or Tilal Quran. Those, inshallah, will be rewarded on that particular night. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a reward to His believers and those who have established the rights of the month throughout that night, inshallah ta'ala. Thereafter, when the day comes of the day of Eid, the sunan of Eid, we should still continue. Even though we will not be praying the Eid Salah, I'll explain in a moment, but nonetheless, we should still continue the sunan of Eid. The sunnahs of Eid is, first of all, the takbiratul Eid, or the takbirah, the phrase that we say on Eid. We say it loudly during the Eid al-adha, the Eid that follows the Hajj. As for the Eid that we are soon, in a couple of days, going to be in the presence of, that particular Eid, a person says this in a lower voice, but nonetheless they still say it until the time that they offer the prayer. Normally the Eid prayer, but we're going to mention Salat al-Duha in a moment, which is the replacement of Eid prayer. And this is when you say Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Lillahi alhamd. And we continue to recite this on the morning of Eid until we offer the Duha prayer or the Eid prayer, as we are going to mention in a moment, inshallah ta'ala. Also, a person during the morning time should eat something that is sweet. They should wear the best clothing of which they have, apply a pleasant scent to themselves. Also, sunnah to take a cleansing wash, a bath during the day also. And normally a person would be expected to walk towards the prayer by one direction and return from another. Maybe that's not present in our present times, but however, a person can still fulfill that sunnah, inshallah ta'ala, by going towards the musalla, where he's going to pray within his own home. And this brings us on now to the salah of Eid. The salah of Eid, there are various conditions for it. It's very similar to the Jum'ah in terms of its conditions for its validity, and it's a salah in the Hanafi madhab which is wajib. Wajib means imperative, which means that a person has to pray unless there's an extremely strong excuse not to. And that strong excuse, we find that is present within our present times of what we have going through, alhamdulillah, in the pandemic. So for that reason, it's permissible, and in fact it's necessary to offer Salat al-Duha. Salat al-Duha is an optional prayer, the maximum of which is 8. We are incited as a replacement for the Eid Salah to offer 4 in units of 2. So 2, and thereafter 2, and thereafter 2. Now, so you offer 2, and thereafter you offer another 2 units. And this is, as I said, prayed about 2 hours approximately before the time of Zawal is the best time to pray this. And inshallah, this will be a replacement for the Eid Salah. And there is to make this clear, there is a difference of opinion amongst the rightly guided scholars on this issue. There are those that will mention that it's necessary to pray Eid Salah within the home. There are others that will mention that it's not. However, the strongest position regarding the condition of Idhan al-Am, what does that mean? It means that there should be general permission for the Eid Salah to take place wherever it may be. Being in our homes, obviously, general permission has not been established. So therefore, scholars have given the judgment, as mentioned in our divine text and our sacred text of our sacred law, that Eid Salah should not be offered in that scenario. No? So Salat al-Duha, what does it consist of? Salat al-Duha is a salah as prayed as every other salah. It's a nafil prayer, which means a person can pray within that a short surah or 3 small ayahs within that. So the one small ayah is also permissible, and then after he ends the salah as normal, and thereafter he makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu accepts this from him. And inshallah ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala al-Ghafur al-Rahim, the most forgiving, the most merciful. And we have no doubt, inshallah ta'ala, that within these dire circumstances which we have of not congregating in Eid Musalla, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this from us, inshallah, inshallah ta'ala. So this is for our Eid Salah. Also, during this time of the year in Ramadan, generally people use it as a measure for the whole, which is the duration of one lunar year, because our calculations of worship is taking place in lunar years, not solar years. So people generally use the month of Ramadan as a period in which to calculate their zakat. And the zakat, just to give you the rudiments of how a person zakat and what value the zakat a person needs to pay, that zakat is the poor due. You could say it is the purification of a person's wealth. And the word zakah, yasku or yaski, comes from the word means not only to purify but also to grow, nama. And I'm going into this very quickly. The reason being is that it gives us an understanding what zakat is. Zakat is not a tax. Zakat is a means of how which you protect yourself from the evil of the wealth. And this is why the Rasul والسلام, he said, indeed in wealth, in the fil amwal shar, wa yazakki minhu az-zakah. And it's mentioned by the Rasul والسلام, as he said that wealth in itself has harm, and you protect yourself from it by giving zakah. So when a person takes and establishes zakat, Allah saves him from the evil of the wealth, and He makes that wealth grow and bear its fruition and be a source of mercy and barakah for the person, rather than be a means of tribulation for a person. So yeah, very quick, just go to rudiments of zakat. What are the rudiments of zakat? The rudiments of zakat is a person has to have the value of nisab, which is the minimal amount, which I'm going to come to in a moment, for a whole year. The whole year calculated according to Islamic lunar year. People generally use Ramadan as a measure because it's a month in which most people are aware of when it enters and when it exits. Now, so they have to have that wealth for a whole lunar year. What is the wealth that they have to have? It is their assets, meaning that whatever wealth they have in the bank, whatever jewelry they have, whatever cash they have maybe in hand within their homes, all of this wealth is added together. Thereafter, you may have debts which are first owed to you. And these debts owed to you and you are confident of those debts being repaid to you, that is, the person is not rejecting it, or the person is not negating the fact that this is owed to you, and you are confident of regaining that debt back. So, for example, a person may owe you £500. In addition to all the other wealth that you have, what do you do with that £500? You add that to your assets. Yeah? You add that to your assets, and if your assets come to the nisab, then you pay 2.5% upon that. But before you total up your assets, if there is a debt that you owe somebody else, a debt that you owe somebody else, you extract that or minus that from the total assets that you have. Okay, an example. A person looks towards all his wealth, he looks towards all his stocks and shares that he has, and there's details for stocks and shares, you add it all together. You look towards the jewelry the person may have, any other assets, money, wealth, and money that's owed to him. He comes to a total of £4,000. Thereafter, he's got a debt that he owes to somebody else of £1,000. So what does he do? He deducts that. So now he's got £3,000 left. Then somebody owes him a debt, owes him money, that is. He's a creditor. He owes him money of 2,000. So now what is it? 3,000 plus 2,000 is now reached a level of 5,000, which means that this person now has to pay zakat on that 5,000 if one lunar year has ended. What if this happens? What if the value goes beneath the nisab? At some point, raises back up, and then by the end of next Ramadan, he's at a value greater than nisab. What does he do? At that point, he pays on the total, even if it's gone beneath the nisab. He pays at the total value at the end of the lunar year. At the end of the lunar year. Okay, these are just the rudimentary, the basic necessities of how to calculate your zakat. And there's the details, inshallah ta'ala. You can send the questions to the faqih, to ourselves, or to any of the other qualified scholars who can answer these questions of sacred law. And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He requires not from us only our bodily worship, but also our financial worship. And this is what ulama mentioned why the word sadaqah comes from the word sidq. By sadaqah, by giving of your wealth, you saddiq, and you verify your faith and your iman. And how many of the companions of radiallahu anhum, they used to give. And a person shouldn't think that the only wealth he has to give is zakat. The Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, inna fi malikum haqqun ghayru zakat. Indeed, upon your wealth there is a right other than zakat. Meaning that it's not just zakat which a person gives, but a person also gives other than zakat. Now we come on to the question very quickly: what is the value of nisab? What is the value of the value which a person needs to pay for the minimal threshold, you could say, before a person has to pay zakat? Okay, now this value can be calculated in two ways very quickly. It can either be used taking the standard of silver and the value of it, which is approximately 690 or about 680 grams of silver, or approximately that's the first value of silver. The second aspect you can take is the value of gold of approximately about 90 to 100 grams of gold. So first you have about 90 to 100 grams of gold, is equivalent in wealth, and then you have approximately 700 grams of silver, which is equivalent in pounds. What is it today, in today's value? Well, if you take the gold standard, like I mentioned, approximately 90 grams of gold, and this has to be obviously 24 karat gold, the highest joda, the highest quality, you could say. This comes to approximately 4,020 pounds. 4,020 pounds. I repeat, 4,020 pounds. If you, however, take the silver, it comes to approximately 290 pounds. 290 pounds. Okay, which value do we take? Which value do we take? You can see the great difference between gold and silver, between £4,000 and £4,020 to about £290. The Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, when he said, خُذُوا مِنْ أَغْنِيَاءَكُمْ وَرَدُّوهُ إِلَى فُقَرَائِكُم, take it from the wealthy from amongst you and return it back to the poor from amongst you. Meaning, take the wealth from the poor, from the wealthy, and return it and distribute it amongst the poor. So the scholars that we've mentioned and we return to have mentioned that a person wouldn't be considered to be rich if he had £290, £300. It's not a value which normally a person would be associated with a person of wealth. And the disparity between gold and silver has reached such a level in our present time that it's more befitting that a person takes the value of gold. And this is what the scholars that we take from have mentioned. So basically, if a person has about £4,018 as of today of assets, he's added them all together, placed them all together, he has more than this, then he needs to remove 2.5% from this wealth, 1/40th of this of his wealth. When a person removes this amount of wealth, inshallah ta'ala, he will find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will increase him not only in barakah of the wealth that remains, but also in the future. No? So these are some of the topics of zakat and sadaqah. Who can he give zakat to? He can give zakat to those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, of those who are the recipients or the rightful owners of zakat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. Allah mentions the categories of zakat. Now, and the categories of zakat are, first of all, the needy, the destitute, the one in debt, which has no means to pay his debt, the military warrior, the liberating force, yani fi sabilillah, ibn sabil, the person who is a traveler, even though he may be a millionaire in his own land and is munqati' an amwali, he cannot reach his wealth. No? He cannot reach his wealth. All of those people a person can give wealth to, give their zakat to. It may be difficult for a person to decipher or to reach the money to a person who is really from the needy or really from the destitute. No? Allah said the fuqara wal masakin. Now this is why you can give this to an organization such as Revive, as charity we work with it here in Darul Arqam, and we make sure it reaches those who are most in need through the channel of the scholars that we know within the blessed lands of Yemen and of Syria. Yeah? So this is a general introduction to some of the Messiah that we will come across during the end of this month. And also for those who have any questions, inshallah, this is the forum in which you can ask some questions, inshallah ta'ala. One question we have at the moment. No. The one question we have is, does a teenager have to pay zakat for their savings out of their own savings, bearing in mind they are not earning? Yes. If a person has a teenager, and they are considered to be baligh, bulugh according to sacred law is reached by menstruation by a girl over the age of 9, or by a boy who sees a nocturnal emission over the age of 12. If they do not see that, then by the time they reach the age of 14 years and 6 months and 2 weeks, that is the age of 15, according to our lunar calendar, this translates to this in the solar, 14 years, 6 months and 2 weeks, and they have the wealth that was mentioned previously in Nisab, and the whole or a period of a year has passed, then this teenager also needs to give the zakat. It's not any proper that the parents give it. Although if they do so, and the child makes or the teenager makes the intention, then the zakat has also been established. Has also been established. Farida has been given. Yeah. So alhamdulillah. So now. So zakah, mashallah, is only but that which purifies our wealth. And it's apt that this zakat cannot be given to the the prophetic household, the Prophet ﷺ and his descendants. And the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ أَوْسَاخِ النَّاسِ لَا يُحِلُّ لِمُحَمَّدٍ وَلَا لِآلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. This is from, you could say, the filth or the vestiges of people's wealth. And it's not befitting for Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, nor for the family of Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ. So when a person takes out the zakat, he purifies their wealth and enables it to continue to be a rich of barakah and of growth for the person, inshallah, inshallah ta'ala. Are there any questions further? Coming up to the time of Asr, alhamdulillah. No. Alhamdulillah. No. So there's also details when it comes to stocks and shares, when it comes to pensions, when it comes to child trust funds, all of these type of questions, inshallah ta'ala. If people want to ask this forum to ask it, inshallah ta'ala. And sometimes some of these questions require detail and require us to sit down with our scholars, alhamdulillah, to go through our finances, especially in this time of precarious health conditions. Nobody knows what the future holds. So all of our wealth transactions, we should attempt inshallah ta'ala to fulfill the rights of the wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq, inshallah ta'ala. Any other further questions? No. The question we've just been asked is, what is the fiqh on praying from the mushaf in Salat al-Duha? First of all, from the Hanafi school of law, a person can only not recite, but rather use the mushaf, a Quran, as a reminder. As if the person knows what he's reciting, but due to old age or due to not having the sufficient time to review his Quran or her Quran, the person isn't confident that he will not make mistakes in that part of the Quran he has memorized. What is permissible for them to do? They can have the Quran next to them. They shouldn't hold it in their hand in Hanafi school. Maybe on a raised platform, or maybe on like a stool or something, which a person places, and then they can read the Quran as they know. And when they think they're coming or made a mistake or coming to making a mistake or unsure about a certain place, they can look into the Mus'haf and then continue their recitation. Continue their recitation. This is in terms of the Hanafi school of law, and they can do this in any of the prayers, whether it's a farad or whether it's a nafil. Although obviously we would not advise a person to do that in a farad prayer, but chance that they may read a part of the Quran which they don't actually have memorized properly. So then they may actually invalidate their prayer or reading from the Mus'haf. As for the Nawafil prayer, alhamdulillah, a person can also take that and read from the Mus'haf. In terms of the Shafi'i school of law, a person can read from the Mus'haf, but I would advise you that you just go through all the conditions according to the Shafi'i school of law, because there are further conditions for tahara, such as niyyah, intention, and tartib, and the order before one can take on also the dispensations or the method of reciting salah according to the Shafi'i school of law. Now, in the Farad Salah, a person should pray a surah. Sorry, the question being asked, just to clarify, can you just pray one or more ayah in each rak'ah? In the Hanafi school of law, a person can pray one long ayah, or either 3 short ayahs, or obviously a surah of the Quran. Now, a person can pray one long ayah, 3 short ayahs, or a surah of the Quran. And this is according to all the salahs, whether it's farad and whether it's nafil prayer. Is there any other questions, inshallah ta'ala? Alhamdulillah. The Prophet ﷺ was reported of ilm bita'allum, hilm bitahallum. Knowledge is by learning, and forbearance is by acting forbearance. So, seeking sacred knowledge is from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why it's narrated, فَإِنَّ مَلَائِكَةَ لَا أَجْنِحَتَهَا رَاضِيًا بِمَا يَصْنَعُ. Now, when a person is traversing the path of knowledge, the angels are placing their wings under the feet of the person who is striving to seek sacred knowledge. Now, من التمس طريقا يبتغي فيها علما سهل الله طريقا إلى الجنة. Whoever takes a path by which he seeks knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes a path to Jannah easy for him. Because what is the sacred knowledge? The sacred knowledge is not anything except the prophetic and the divine inheritance, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's minnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favor upon this ummah till the end of times, meaning that this sacred law is that which will revive our lives and revive the lives of our societies and the lives of our hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu astajibu lillahi wa lirasuli idha da'akum yuhyikum wa'lamu anna Allah yahulu bayna qalbihi wa annahu ilayhi tuhshurun. That, oh, you believe, respond to Allah's Prophet when he calls you that which gives you life. And what gives us life is our understanding of our sacred law. It's our lamp, it's our torch, it's our guide in times of darkness and times of confusion, such as this. The question being asked by my brother is, can I pray the same ayahs in the first and second rakats? Yes, you can, although there's karaha, there's a dislike. Yes, you can, although there's a dislike, but the salah is nonetheless still valid. Except, obviously, for the person who knows no other Quran other than that, and the person should try to memorize some more Quran, but nonetheless, that is valid, inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, we're coming up now to the time of Asr. In the absence of any further questions, inshallah ta'ala, we beseech all of you that you keep ourselves in your prayer, and also our team and our brothers and our sisters, Sister Cherry and Ustad Yasin and others, alhamdulillah, and all the others that make Darul Arqam continue this time of difficulty. And inshallah ta'ala, وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Whatever you send forward of goodness, you'll find with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the time to give. As the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was asked, أَيُّ صَدَقَةُ الْأَفْضَلُ فَقَالَ صَدَقَةٌ في Ramadan, a sadaqah that is given in the month of Ramadan. We have one final question. Can you please say something about Eid Salah? We did say something about Eid Salah previously. Please return back to the earlier of the recording, inshallah. Hopefully, it should be clarified there. That is Eid Salah. There is no Eid and Am, according to one group of scholars which we follow. There's no general permission when a person establishes Eid Salah within their home. So therefore, the conditions for that are not fulfilled. So therefore, Eid Salah cannot be prayed into the home according to this understanding. So therefore, a person should pray Salatul Duha. That is, they should pray 2 rakats and 2 rakats in lieu for the Salah of Eid. And normally when a person misses the Eid Salah in the Musalla, this is what they're incited to pray in the divine text, and our sacred law has mentioned this previously. And this situation is very similar, if not identical, to that situation. What should one do if one don't have 4 male adults in the house? So the Salatul Duha can be prayed individually. It does not necessarily have to be prayed in Jama'ah. You can pray it individually. Also, if you pray it in congregation, it's possible. There's 2 positions within the Hanafi Madhab where the congregation can be prayed in Nafil prayer. The limit that's normally given is 3 for Nafil prayer. Also, there's another position which was taken by other scholars. In fact, congregation of optional prayer of any size is permissible. No. And this was the same position taken by the great scholar Imam Shaykh Shafi'i, the first Mufti of Pakistan, and other scholars prior to that also. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tawfiq and remembers all your prayers. Barakallahu fikum. Jazakallahu khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. So zakah, mashallah, is only what that purifies our wealth, and it's apt that this